Namaste viewers. Welcome to another episode on understanding how you can effectively handle your teenager. As parents, we all keep trying different things. Something that can help the child get better. Something that can bring more peace in the mind of not just the child but to the whole family. Something which will help deepen the relationship between parents and teenager. Something that will balance the emotional mental health of the child, isn't it? Today, I am going to teach you two effective techniques which can be practiced very easily and also help the child to release all the mental stress and emotional agony that the child might be going through. And yes, please understand that if the child is throwing up or if the teenager is throwing up a bubbly character, jumping around, trying to be very happy around you, but you also see that often the child is locking himself or herself in the room, isolating himself or herself from family members, and sometimes shows that very indifferent behavior, then you know that there is something not fine. And whether you can assess that or not, please ensure that as a routine, these practices are followed by the teenager so that whether it has come to your knowledge or not, those unwanted frustrations or mental blockages or emotional pain can be released from the child. And yes, whenever there is some rapid hormonal changes during teenage, there will be some emotional disturbance. Whether there's something evident happening in the family or something really futile or subtle back in the school. But child will try to pick up on things which can make him feel or make her feel frustrated. So you don't have to judge whether this is a significant event or not. Please go ahead and teach these techniques which can come handy to the teenager and also help the teenager uplift their behavior more positively. First one is conscious breath work. So there can be a lot of criticism, teasing, bullying and all the torture that the child goes through in school or probably in the friend circle. Sit with the child and talk to the child openly and tell, at your age, even I was going through a lot of challenges. I don't know if you experience it, but they were teasing me for my looks or my marks or whatever. But just in case if you're going through anything like that, there is a useful tip. And if you don't follow it and cleanse your emotions, then it's going to spill into your academic performance, in your behavior and your thought process. I don't want you to go through what I went through as a teenager back then, and therefore I'm giving you these tips and suggestions. Kindly try to follow it. This is the way you pass on a suggestion rather than saying, why don't you do this? This is yielding results. This is why you're not seeing any changes. So if you can bring in a story, an emotional touch, a lot of love into all that you're suggesting to the child, maybe not immediately as an implementation, but later when the child doesn't even want to share his pain points with you, he can probably start using it or she can probably start suggesting it to someone else who is equally disturbed in their friend circle. Now, conscious breath work, very simple. Ask the child or the teenager to sit in a comfortable posture in a cozy environment in the room and inhale and exhale consciously for a couple of times. Every time the child exhales, ask the child to imagine all those embarrassing moments, negative comments, or feeling of frustration and sadness that the child has gone through. For instance, somebody is saying you're not good looking, you've become so fat, oh my God, you're so dumb, so on and so forth. And as a child inhales consciously, ask the teenager or the child to imagine all the good positive qualities like I am the best, I can do it, I'm beautiful, I like the way I am, my parents like me the way I am, so on and so forth. Well, by doing this, the child will not just feel that there is a handy tool out there to release all the junk, but will also try to accommodate this during the very moment of such a painful act. For instance, let's assume that you sit with the child and practice this or you have advised this and then it faces some embarrassing moment in college or school. It will immediately know that I'm just going to release this and focus on performance in the test or give my best on stage. So sometimes giving suggestion may not yield immediate results or the teenager might just blatantly refuse to follow, but you never know where this can be helpful. So conscious breathing and breathing out all negative emotions, breathing in all positivity is something that you can definitely teach the child. Well, dear parents, do not forget to advise your child to talk good things to their fellow mates. I know it sounds a little too difficult to implement, because forget about suggesting to someone else, your own child will not be listening to you. But you know what? All these teenagers will have this urge to seek attention, to get appreciated from their fellow mates. So, such tips and suggestions have a very high possibility of being implemented. So, sit with your teenager and start telling the teenager to advise people in need regarding few key things that you have seen as a defect in your own child. For instance, you can tell your child, next time if you see somebody really depressed or talking negative things about their parents, you can advise this. And the advice can be anything out of your own experience. You know, probably closing their eyes and looking at all the tough times the parents have gone through and how they have outgrown them to help the child. Or when the child is depressed, if you're suggesting your child here, if the child notices any of his or her friends being depressed, then just connecting with their heart, or even thinking of how precious this life is and how important his or her life is for their parents. So when you do this, the child indirectly analyzes it and sees how he or she can correlate it within themselves, and also by explaining this to other people. Let's hypothetically imagine that there is a real situation where another friend sought help from your child and the friend comes back appreciating your child. Imagine what can be the impact on the personality of your own child. Child will know and realize that this advice, if it did good to someone else, it will definitely do good to me. So whatever mom or dad shared with me, I think I should also start implementing on my own self. Yes, it's a little tricky. It may or may not yield immediate results, but trust me, one or the other day, the child in the desperation of seeking appreciation and attention will definitely advise this to someone, and it will come back as gratitude from someone else, and the chain will continue like this, where the child would want more of such tips and suggestions from you and also want to accommodate that in his or her own life. So the practice of conscious breath work and the practice of suggesting good things to suggest other people can work wonders. Yes, handling teenagers is not an easy job, but if you do conscious parenting, it's definitely going to be a lot more easier. Next time, I'll meet you again with another useful tip on drugless therapy. Until then, please take care of yourself. Thank you so much for watching. Namaste.